I will call to order this meeting of the Auburn Water District, February 21st, 2024. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for January 17th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So, motion to accept. Do I have a second? We have a second. Any errors, corrections, or omissions in the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes? All opposed? Good, unanimous. Okay, we did have item number 2 is an executive session, but I'm going to make a request that somebody make a motion to take out of order item 3. It's in order to get some few things done before we go into executive session, and make number 3 number 2 and just switch them.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, then we can go on with a financial report then.
Brenda Power is in here.
All right, Brenda, you are up for our financial update.
That's what's missing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So I'll start with the balance sheet and just take a look at cash and working funds, and we're still strong, step over 3.3 million, a slight increase from December. And that's all I wanted to point out on the balance sheet today. The income statement, so we started the year, we have a new budget, so some timing issues will probably be happening for a month or two, but we're looking good. Our revenues were just slightly below budget. Some miscellaneous revenues are a little low, but those will probably even out. And payroll is still lower, and that's due to some open positions. And I think most of the other items, they're pretty close to budget. They will even out over time. Right now, we are actually in a favorable position, though, overall. For the month of January. And just to look a little closer even at the stats page, revenues compared to 2023, again, fairly flat, just down a bit compared to budget, same. Meter revenue is actually up a bit, and I believe the revenue mix is a little different, and that's why revenues are down, but usage is slightly up. And again, we talked about payroll. Not much going on in the projects yet, and I'm sure Mike can talk more to that. And accounts receivable is holding steady. Doesn't really change too much, so that's good. And just looking at the cash chart, you can see that we are up a little bit. So that's all I had, unless someone had any questions.
Just to review, the water sales and expenses, we used last year's numbers as a guide, Mike, when we did a forecasting for this year, or did we use a running average of 3 months or 3 years?
I'm sorry, I'm having a real hard time hearing you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he asked the numbers that we used for revenues,
For forecast. For
forecasting for 2024. Did we use an average from 2023, or are we using what we actually spent in 2023?
Tanya pulled that together, but I believe by looking at it, it was basically based on 2023.
Yeah, I thought so. So the one thing I wanted to be concerning is that we had a kind of a down year for 2023. And if we use 2023's numbers and we have another down year, we need to really start looking at 2 years in a row like that. We're going against last year's numbers, which were down.
Yep.
So that's a downward progression that we may not see on a regular basis. So, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
We have another wet summer.
Well, let's hope for a dry summer that they need to auto knock. Last year we had a very wet summer, so a lot of stuff like car washing and lawns.
Water usage was
Water
down
usage was way down.
considerably.
Yeah, it was way down, yeah.
Send them out with the sandwich.
Okay, any other questions or concerns with the financial report?
One thing I just wanted to throw in there while we have Brenda on the Zoom here, you know, we're actually preparing for our 2023 audit. RHR Smith is our auditor. They've scheduled our audit to begin first or second week of March. With the turnover that we had last year in the finance director role, a couple of turnovers in that position. There was a couple of periods where we had vacancies in that position. There was not a lot of consistency through the turnovers. There was a lot of errors that were made, and it's been a lot of work, a tremendous effort. Brenda and Maine Rural Water have been making to right the ship, but they have done it. I know in previous months there's been a lot of questions of, you know, one specific line item that I remember that the commission showed that they were over what they were allocated. Well, that wasn't the case. We had misappropriated expenses and put it onto the commission that didn't belong at the commission. So we actually found that the commission was under budget from what we had assessed. There was a lot of things like that, some invoicing issues. We did find that we had not invoiced Lewiston for 2 months, June and July. So we have gotten those invoices out and gotten that corrected. So some of our materials handling, you know, it's not small numbers. Nothing is missing. There's nothing wrong. It just wasn't accounted for properly. But the good news is we've got it all accounted for, and we're ready just about for our audit.
The office
Yeah,
manager you hired
almost
wasn't doing all the duties she was supposed to be doing relative to some of that, right?
Well, maybe just not hitting the ball out of the park. Maybe just not getting them, you know, accounted for in the proper channels, and, you know, getting all the eggs in the right carton, so to speak.
She was only here for what? After you hired her 3 months?
About 3 months, yeah.
Yeah. And then she was gone, and it was vacant again.
Just go along.
Well, thank you, Brenda, for the extra.
Yes, Maine Rural Water's doing a heck of a job. So
Thank you, Mike, I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brenda.
Okay, thanks all.
Okay, I'm going to also offer another opportunity to take something out of order. That is, first I'm going to ask the public, is there anyone here that plans on speaking? Okay, because what I'd like to do then is take item 5 out of order and make it the next item on the agenda, so that those folks don't have to wait for our executive session.
I'll make a motion to bring public comment up to our next agenda item.
Okay, second. All those in favor? Okay, then I would say the next item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody wish to speak? Please limit your...
Go first. Go ahead. No.
Steve Beal, as I'm sure you all know. I have a few things. One of the items later on in the agenda under Mike's report is in regard to the appointment of someone to go to a so-called stakeholder meeting regarding the new ordinances that have been enacted with respect to activities permitted and prohibited in the watershed. The ordinance was finally adopted by the Auburn City Council in December, but some things got rushed at the last minute, and then the city attorney got a hand on things, and that changed some things that we thought had all been agreed upon. So there's a meeting of various people with differing interests tomorrow night at Auburn Hall, 5 o'clock, and the Water District is invited to designate a representative, and I see that that's on the agenda, that
Yes.
Mike is prepared to do that. One of the items that probably will come up in that discussion is also relates to the DWP response letter, which is on your agenda for today too. The DWP in general was approving of the ordinance package, which is comprised of several different components, which will ultimately get split out. That's a procedural matter. But the drinking water group's principal concern or any addition to the ordinance structure was in regard to curtain drains and diversion ditches. They wanted to see some more specific emphasis on that in the ordinance structure. And finally, I know that Mike is aware of this, but and Dan may be, but most of the rest of you probably are not. The Water Protection Commission had commissioned 2 studies back in the fall of 2022, one of which was the CDM Smith Grace Lawn Pit study, which resulted in the 3D modeling evaluation that you're familiar with, and that was the basis for the watershed boundary zone change. The other one was a much more general study of the watershed as a whole in regard to water quality, particularly phosphorus loading and sources of input into the lake, and trying to get a handle on the best methods of getting the most reduction in pollutant load, phosphorus load, and other remedies for the quickest amount of time and with the least amount of dollars. That report has just been issued. The Watershed Protection Commission has received it, but they didn't take any action on it at the January meeting. It's going to be on the agenda for the next meeting. But that's a very important report that affects the watershed as a whole, and I assume that Mike will make it available to you in due course.
Very good. We look forward to seeing it. Okay, all done? Anything else? Anyone else?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Please just state your name, please.
Yes. I'm a teacher, and I just have to see your faces. So, my name is Joan Macri. I live at 42 Waterview Drive in Auburn.
And I'm Dale Young. I have a few properties out on the Taylor Road, on Taylor Pond.
And I represent about 75 homes that stretch about 1.5 miles along Taylor Pond. And that is your last stretch of seasonal water. And we are here not to ask you to, well, let me put it this way. We're here to ask you to postpone replacing the seasonal water, because we are in discussions with, beginning discussions with the city, or resuming discussions, I should say, to bring year-round water to that area. Some of you, Mr. Titus, I know you've seen me before.
Yes.
This is something that we discussed with the city council, with Bob Hayes, Bob Stone, Jim Cross, quite a few people about 6 or 7 years ago. And then things changed on the council, things changed with city managers. And anyway, I've been encouraged to come back by Representative or Councilor Cowan. We were here also yesterday at the sewer board meeting. And what we're looking to do is to not have you spend money replacing a system that, frankly, we don't want. We don't like it. It's 6 months of the year. A lot of it's above ground. It's prone to leaking. There have been areas that have been leaking for a year. Just a total waste of water. And so if you could delay your plans to replace the seasonal water, and then ideally take that money and give it to the city towards the replacement. Some of you, Mr. Titus, may remember, we did an engineering study. Mike probably remembers this. I worked really closely with Sid Hazelton and with Mike. And Wright Pierce did the study. It was a $25,000 engineering study that we paid half of. One of our neighbors put up $12,000 to do this. The district put up, or the city put up $12,000. And it determined the cost in 2017 of the replacement of the pipes with year-round water. And at the time, it was about $1.2 million. Well, that was 7 years ago, so I imagine the price is higher. But it doesn't change the fact that in that area, we need year-round water. We do have people with wells. The well quality is pretty terrible. It's it's brackish, it's brine. In doing all this work a number of years ago, I worked with a state geologist who told me that this was relic seawater. And the more wells we drill, the greater the chance is that we can open up a seam and actually get brack and brine into Taylor Pond. Since 2017, I at least know of 6 additional wells that have been drilled along that strip. One of them went 650 feet, only got brackish water, had to put in a reverse osmosis system on top of the well that he paid to have drilled. So it's a huge issue in our area. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Dale, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. I mean, that's all the wells are concerned. We have a number of houses or old camps that can't be converted, so that, they just can't be converted without doing more wells. And I have one house that is on the seasonal water, has a well, bad quality water, So I'm gonna end up having to drill a well too. I have a property two other properties that do have wells. But beyond the wells is the concern of, like, we can't have fire hydrants, things like that. So that, it definitely has more of an impact than just, it'd be nice to have like regular water. Right?
And you can't get a bank loan if you don't have year-round water. So if you have a seasonal camp and you want to convert it to a year-round home, you cannot get a loan without having a source of water. On my property, I've been told there have been at least 5 attempts to drill, and they have not gotten decent water.
I think,
Future agenda item?
I was going to suggest, first of all, everybody I think on this board may know or may not know, we can't put the water line in.
Right, we
It's been
know.
requested, it's a city thing that they would have to do, then we would take it over and maintain it. So it's a city decision, however, I don't see any reason why if there's any plans for repair, we have time, we could wait. But maybe that could be an agenda item to fully vet next meeting and make sure that it's on the agenda so we can give it a good.
We were budgeted to replace a good section of that seasonal water main last summer. We ran out of time in the year, and so we put that on a pause. This year, our construction plate is so loaded with other projects, it's not on our schedule to do this year. So right now, we're not currently budgeted to do that work this year. So,
But it should be something that we're looking at.
it's definitely
and-
something that needs to be addressed because we deal with frequent leaks. The infrastructure that's there is at the end of its life.
In the 80s it was put in?
Yeah, and it was all galvanized lines. It gets activated and deactivated every year, and it just is wear and tear on it, and it's at the end of its life.
Well, we'll do that, we'll make sure it's on a future agenda
I
item.
appreciate that.
Yep, and then it looks like you're buying time just because of time anyway, but I think it should still be on the record.
Right,
Yep.
and we of course want to work with the district, absolutely.
And we have a contact info, so
Yep.
when it does come on the agenda, you'll get a month's notice or
Absolutely.
at least 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay, Mike's got my number.
Very good, and good luck.
Thank you. We're
I'll
gonna
talk
be
to the city
posted.
and see what happens, maybe
We will. Mary, you.
you got all the numbers there. Okay, any other comments from the public?
I think that, are you going into executive session?
Yes, that's
Okay,
gonna be
so I
next,
think we
and
will.
then it could take up to an hour, but then we'll be back to
Yeah.
finish the rest of it.
I think we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
very good. Okay. I would say next item on the agenda is to move into executive session in accordance with 1 MSRA 4056E to discuss legal matter. Do I have a motion?
Can I point of order before Dennis leaves?
Sure.
He's been approved as a trustee. Could he sit in on this?
No, he's been approved by the city, but he's not a trustee till March 1st.
Till March 1st. Sounds fine. Let's try.
That's just a technicality, so,
Good luck.
I mean, I don't think it would be a problem, but then again.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I don't,
So we didn't have
we
the
don't need
vote.
any more lawsuits.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a motion to go into executive session. Second?
Second.
All in favor? We are in executive session. All right, I am going to declare that we are out of executive session. And we're going to move on to item number 4, ratify payment of bills.
I move that we ratify the payment of bills.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right.
Do you have,
I
anybody
got a
have
few
any?
questions, but I probably, because we're kind of running later than usual, Mike, I can call you and talk sometime and ask you about just 4 brief things. Let's do that.
Okay, all in favor of ratifying payment of bills? Yes, okay. Next item is activity report from Matt.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, activity report, things are fairly normal. I don't really want to say it, but, you know, it's been fairly mild.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking here. Yeah, I don't want to jinx this is real wood here, but, yeah, we've been having a mild winter. Main breaks have been relatively light.
But that was 5 leaks in 1 month, that's light?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it really?
Mike, you speak
Yeah,
from
no,
my
we're-
experience.
We're doing really good.
operations.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
About average?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We had a cold February with no snow, so you're gonna see some issues with frost going deep.
Yeah, I mean, excellent point, Andy, but, I mean, looking at the forecast, we're gonna be in mid-40s and 50s next week.
Yes.
We're a few weeks away from daylight savings, so, we're over the hump, but doesn't mean that Mother Nature won't hand us some curveballs here. Cool. But we'll be prepared. Been staying on top of our winter hydrant maintenance, as well as keeping up with some hydrants that have been obstructed by vehicles. Also maintain our private hydrants. We had one new service. And then we had a handful of service boxes that we had to respond to, a handful that were bent or cover missing. We had a handful that were frozen, and a couple that needed pressure tested. Through that, it was discovered, the issues were on private, not on the public side. Station checks, doing a good job with station checks there. I mentioned this at the sewer meeting yesterday. Esri and ArcGIS offers Survey 123. What we've done, and we've been pilot testing with operations, is utilizing those for our station checks. Pretty much structures and everything that we want operations or operators to collect when they're out there. All the way from build an envelope to pump hours to standby generator hours to fuel levels. That way we can better manage our assets and we can make kind of data-driven decisions based off of the information we're receiving. Another example is if there's a storm forecasted a week from now, we can get into them surveys and we can run down through all our station fuel inventories. So instead of having to have operators go out there and collect this information, we can turn on the computer, access a spreadsheet, and then we can either contact the vendor, or if we want to, if one station was, at that threshold where we might want to refill it, we can have an operator go out there and check, and then have the vendor go out and refill the station. Or if there's a known issue, we can schedule that maintenance on our terms instead of waiting for it to become something emergent.
Cool.
Had a handful of water quality calls. Some of those relate to hydrants that were utilized to fight fires. Some of them were related to low chlorine residuals. And then we flushed and pumped the hydrants to boost up the residual. And that's about it from the activity report. And then for project updates, recently this week, well, before that, let me back up. Mike and I were able to facilitate a meeting with the DOT regional manager. The district has a lot of work in front of it this year. What we're doing is we're trying to get out ahead of this. So Mike and I were able to, along with our GIS tech, pull together tabulations of all our assets within the scope of their projects so that we can be an alternative on their bid. And we'd have that choice to either have their contractor do the work or potentially opt out. There's one caveat with that, with the estimates that we put forward based on our assets and the costs that we think we should experience for a contractor to do this work. There's a 15% threshold there. So if we are within that 15% margin, we have to move forward with the DOT. If we're outside of that 15% margin, then we can opt out with them. So Mike and I are working through that right now. And a lot of this work is going to be in busy thoroughfares throughout the city. It's not easy work to schedule. It's going to be mostly night work. So we're looking at that. We do have project maps that have been created by our GIS tech, Greg Galbraith. And what we're doing now is we're having crews go out there and inspect all our assets in this area. First, to make sure that we can locate, collect tie readings for them, tie cards, as well as collect GPS points for those. And then if they're not at grade, we'll then at least mark them out. If they are at grade, open it up, see if the valve is accessible, see if the valve is in the correct position, see if there's a nut on the valve. And if not, then we can put that into a roster, we can plan maintenance. And if needed before the DOT project, we can schedule that, we can prioritize that. So crews are out there doing that work right now. A couple other things that I wanted to note is, management's commitment to safety training development. I don't know if you noticed on the way in, but, February and March, we're really making a concerted effort to develop our staff, make sure they work safely, make sure, they have the training and the tools that they need. And you see it's pretty aggressive what we've done. Most recently, all water operators sat through water distribution exam prep, and that is with the intent for them to get their water distribution certifications. As of today, most recently, very happy to report that we had one operator go sit for his exam, and he's now a licensed operator.
Good.
Yeah, so very exciting. Also, looking at safety, we talked about safety, scheduling this OSHA regulation and annual training per our job descriptions. Take advantage of this time of year to do that training in the first quarter. That way when construction hits, our annual training is done, and we're not waiting for that third or fourth quarter to get that training done. To go along with that, we have Dig Safe Excavation Safety Seminar here at Great Falls Plaza next month, and we are going to be sitting in on a state-led service line inventory training. There are 3 of those scheduled, one starting at the end of the month and then 2 in March. Another thing, sorry, kind of long-winded here for my portion.
Wrap it up pretty soon.
Staff and pleased to report that we have an operator that has accepted the position. He's supposed to be starting next week. He comes with a lot of experience in construction and operations of heavy equipment. Very excited to have him part of our staff.
That's great.
And that's it.
Well, thank you very much. Sorry to rush you a little bit. We got to do 2 hours of work in 45 minutes.
I will talk as fast as I can.
Okay, and the new business.
All right,
First
new
item
business.
is drinking water program response letter.
Yes, in your packets is a copy of the letter that we got back from the drinking water program. Back in January, I had prompted them to review the ordinances and some of the changes to the Lake Auburn watershed overlay district. After some gentle prodding, we finally did get this response. They actually applaud us for our efforts and what we've done. They did find, one area where they had some concerns regarding the curtain drains. Immediately upon receiving this letter, I had spoken with John Blaze with the City of Auburn. We wound up setting up a call with the subsurface expert with the drinking water program and walked through what his concerns were, what he wanted to see. And as I understand it, Auburn is amending their regulations on curtain drains to adhere to what they wanted to see. My question to the board is, even though I know that's happening on the back end, should we draft a letter to the city, whether that be city council or planning board, and just recommend that they follow those recommendations that were made by the drinking water program? That way it just kind of, CYA for us, we received this letter from the drinking water program, they're advising us, even though we know they're working on this, we follow through with that.
Yeah, I would send the letter. The city made their own inquiries, got their own letter back, and they're already doing this, but you probably want to have communication of the city recommending the change anyway.
And we understand, it's kind of like very lighthearted though, saying we understand you understand, and we're in complete support of what they want to propose, and we're hoping you are too, or something.
All right,
like that.
I will draft a letter and get that out.
Yep.
Perfect. The next one, I do have a quick little presentation, and I will make this very quick. We do have money in our budget to complete a workflow efficiency study. This is really going to focus on a lot of the softwares that we use to manage our accounts, to send out our bills, to conduct our payroll, and the administration of our offices and responsibilities. It's become apparent to me, through the review process, I know a lot of the trustees have recommended getting our arms around efficiency and making some positive changes. And after looking and going through the last year as superintendent, I certainly see room for improvement. We utilize many different softwares to do our business. None of the softwares work together. To get the information from one software to another, it's all manual, download, re-input. It's a lot of work. Our objective is to reduce costs, increase efficiency, and save some time. That's the big goal, and I'm going to breeze through some of these. We've already made some changes. There was some things I noticed we were paying for some redundancies. We had 2 softwares that did inventory, 2 softwares that did work orders, 2 softwares and we weren't utilizing the functions of both of those. So we can, we're saving $6,000 a year on one of them, and made some changes to a lease to save, $60 a month on something else that we weren't utilizing. Here's kind of a big picture of what I'm talking about. All the different things we use for our utility billing. This is the big one. Our work order system, our SCADA. This is our alarming of all of our stations, control of our facilities. Obviously our website, our inventory, which is huge. We put a lot of parts and pieces in the ground, somewhere around $400,000 a year in parts and pieces. Where we store all of our organizational information, like our charters and trustee minutes and all of our stuff. Our GIS, which is our mapping, which is linked with the city. Our meter reading software that reads all of our usage with our customers. QuickBooks is still kind of part of our inventory. And this is our time clock and personnel management records. All of this stuff is manual input from one system to the other. It does not work together. It's not super efficient. They all do a good job at what they do, but they don't work together. The goal is to get systems and softwares that do work together, that is just a matter of importing, exporting, out this information, so it's not, when you're dealing with 7,000 accounts or 25 employees, manually inputting all the information is not efficient. One thing I kind of missed, there are some things we're missing right now with what we do. Long-range capital planning, asset management are big things for me that I want to see us work towards. And again, we don't have any software or anything that currently does that. We have reached out to this Rayburn Consulting. Basically, they come in, they look at what we're using, and they set up speed dates for us so that they'll lay out. They don't sell software. They're not going to sell us utility billing software. They're not going to sell us asset management, but they will align us with where to look to find what we're looking for, with the understanding we want it all to work together. To do this work, we can qualify for some grant money. The only really ask that I have for you, it's more of an FYI. I'm gonna apply for a $30,000 grant to undertake this work. We're looking at about $20,000 for the study, which also includes software selection, and about $15,000 to implement. This is a $35,000 lift here. We've got $15,000 in the budget, and we can get up to $30,000 from the drinking water program. So I'm gonna be looking for that.
Bob and I were at sewer last night, and they were unanimous.
Yes.
Sounds like a good plan.
So that's, I breezed right through that, but that's something we're working on, and as we move forward with this, the boards will be kept up to date. This will be on the agenda so that you're in the loop before we make any changes or do anything, sign any contracts.
Very good. Okay, next item.
All right, next item, Maine Municipal Association popped in. They do once a year, just kind of go over what we utilize them for insurances and policies and programs. We use them for income protection and dental, most specifically. They brought this up because they have some experience with this going on in the state. They actually recommended the district does not have a grace period for eligibility of these benefits currently. If somebody starts working here on day 1, they can sign up for income protection. Day 3, they could break their foot in their driveway and all of a sudden be out on income protection for a year. And we're down an employee and they're you know, they're out. They're actually recommending that we institute some sort of grace period. I recommended to the sewer board that we go forward with a 6-month probationary period that's consistent with the rest of our policies and procedures handbook, but to affect those 2 policies. So as long as you don't object to that, that's what we'll do. The other one is our retirement system. The district uses ICMA retirement. The district contributes 6% of every employee's gross salary into a 401k. Through ICMA, the employees can then sign up for 457 plans, and they can sign up for a Roth IRA. They cannot right now contribute to the 401k that was set up by the district. The request has come in from multiple employees that, well, why can't we change the plan so that we can compound our funds into one plan and make more interest? We looked into it, and lo and behold, we can change that. But before we change that, I just wanted to make sure the trustees were aware of this. It does not cost us anything to make this change. It will not impact us, doesn't cause us any more work, doesn't cause us any more money. If somebody comes in working here and they've worked somewhere for 10 years and they've got money in a 401k, they could then transfer that into this plan that we're setting up for them, and it's to their benefit. So as long as nobody objects, we're gonna do those things. Nobody from...
So far, I didn't see anything that sounded bad to me.
All right.
Mike, I got one quick question
Sure.
on that. So what's the impact of this grace period gonna have on new hires?
So right now, health insurance is available immediately upon hire. So the first month they're hired, you will have health insurance coverage from that point. The dental and the income protection are not currently funded by the district. That's an employee funded, so they have to contribute towards this. You know, the risk is people will feel unprotected for the first 6 months, and they may not have their dental for the first 6, at least through the district. But, you know, I hope that it doesn't run people away, but I think it reduces our liability or risks as opposed to, you know, MMA had recommended, what did they say, Diane, 90 days? What they recommended to us. The rest of our policies are contingent upon 6 months, so that's what we, to us, me, was more natural.
I think do it, and then if
Yeah,
you have any comments or you find any pushback, maybe you have to change it, but based on, you know, people.
Yeah, the health insurance is a big part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
health
that's
insurance,
right,
they're
that's
available.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's faster than most employers. Most employers,
Right.
you get
And we-
90 days or something that you have to wait, or 60
And the-
two full months, wherever they happen, yeah.
There have been new regulations that just came up when we updated our personnel policies and procedures handbook last year. We found out that employees need to start earning sick time immediately upon hire now. You can't hold back paid time off since COVID and stuff. They need to be eligible for that stuff.
Right away.
So, I mean, I feel like they're protected there, but it also protects us from losing somebody who's only been here 2 years or up to a year. All right, next item, we'll breeze through real quick. New website, we are up and running on our new website. Dan's got it pulled up right there.
Good look.
This website was created for us quite a while ago now. There was a hiccup in getting the training on how to go live with it and make changes to it. The beauty of this new website is we pay for hosting fees, but we no longer have to pay anybody to maintain it for us. We got training on WordPress and how to upload the agendas and minutes and create a blog and create alerts and do a lot more with our website. I personally put the agendas on the new website, so it was pretty simple. So that's nice. We're up and running. If you see anything on it, there is some information that we're still working to upload to get it completely up to date. But so yeah, and it has been an issue with us in the past not being able to get our packets on time because we used to have to send them to our web manager, and we would be reliant on their, 3 business days to get that posted. So we don't have that issue anymore. So.
That's great, Mike. Thank you. I know that was at the last meeting we talked about that.
Yep.
And thank you for getting it done so quickly.
So the Water Quality Ad Hoc Committee created by this district, which has 2 representatives from the district, 2 from the commission, 2 from the city of Lewiston, and 2 from the city of Auburn. Last trustee meeting, we appointed Andy Titus to replace Steve Milks. At this time, this is Andy's last trustee meeting.
My last trustee meeting.
1, we need to thank him for his service, but 2, we'll have to replace him on this ad hoc committee. We do have an ad hoc committee scheduled for next Tuesday at 3:30 at AvCog, is scheduled right now to continue discussions on septic inspections and engagement with the upper watershed towns. So
Who's the Auburn reps? Is it
John
Eric?
Blaze and Eric Cousins.
Okay, so it's a science team. It's not a political team, really. Okay.
Yep, it's just that we need to have somebody that, you know, is gonna be looking out for our interests here, or offering comment mostly. It's not so much looking out for our interests, but it's just offering feedback. It's, you know, making sure that we're cooperating well with the other side, so to speak. That's really what this group was originally intended to do, is get the people talking. Drinking water program, love seeing it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important. So whoever does it, just, you know, I don't know how often the meetings are, probably.
Well, they've been sometimes, you know, once every 2 weeks, and then we've had months in between. I think you're going to see about every 2 to 3 weeks till we get through a couple of things here, and we may have recommendations, and then the committee may have met its charge. It might be over. You know, we've got 2 things in front of us: how to engage the upper watershed towns. Once this committee formulates that opinion, they'll give it back to the water district. This committee really has no power. They were created by the district to advise the district, taking in the input of all these other organizations.
Does anybody want to do it?
I know Steve Milks would like to continue doing it, because I asked him about, what are these meetings like and all that. Christie's been reporting back. Is there a problem with putting him back on that? I mean, charter-wise, we created it.
This board, yeah, he had reached out last month when we were reporting Andy that he wanted to stay on it and asked if he could.
Well, he's got some legacy knowledge,
Yeah.
where it is kind of a short-lived committee getting up to speed.
So
by the
I'll
time you get
nominate,
up to speed.
because I asked him if he, you know, even if he could make the next meeting, and he said he could, so I will nominate Steve Milks to stay on the ad hoc.
Does anybody second that?
Yeah, I second that nomination.
Any discussion on anybody else that's interested in doing it? If not, we'll move the question. All in favor? Okay, that's decided.
I'm hoping the mayor, one more comment. The mayor has some really good insight about legal stuff, and you know, I appreciate listening to you. I mean, I'm hoping between you being able to get with the folks, you know, in planning and permitting, and also with Milks being our council, city council rep.
Yeah, you might be able to,
Yeah, that maybe you could attend as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anybody can attend.
Anyone can attend, yeah, it's a public meeting, but I think, Mike, what you were saying is the issues that are going on right now, I think Dan's point is really about the upper watershed towns, right? Because the issue of the septic inspections is really, as I understand it, is does the water district, law pack, the water division, do they want to have some type of program to either provide or reimburse or have, you know, scheduled contractors or something to perform inspections?
That's the question on their plate, but it's also the question on LOPEC's plate that everybody's
Right.
talking about.
How do you fund it? Who's going to do it?
Right.
How are you going to staff
Who's gonna
it?
come up with a
Who's going to
consensus?
manage it? And right now, the ordinance says the commission is responsible for septic inspections. Ultimately, that comes down to endorsement of this board, because we would have to fund a percentage of that work. So right now, we're just kind of trying to work through those things. There are some grants that we are eligible for. That's part of what I was looking into for that committee. Each entity, the water district and the city of Lewiston, can qualify for source water protection grants. They can go towards this, so
I
that's
think we
going to be
have
some
two
good
options, though,
information.
it turns out. Either the city does it, and then there have to be a apportionment of the cost, or
Right.
LOPEC does it, but it's an AWD employee, just like Erica.
Right.
That they, as their employee, they control what goes on there, but we're the ones that's hired them, so, because LOPEC doesn't have that ability to hire, quote unquote,
They don't have any-
technically, they don't have any process, so it would have to be just like Erica, an employee here that, but is 50-50 split, which I think it should be, or the city of Auburn does it, and then I don't know how they'd split it.
What's going to involve in the septic inspection? I mean, are they running a camera down? Are they?
That's to
or
be
is it-
determined as well. What
It's a long
practices
subject.
are we following? It's
Because
part of
for
the.
instance, like when I have my septic system pump, they call it a pumping and inspection, and the guy pumps it out, he looks in there. walks over to my bed,
Right.
kind of, yeah, no, everything.
That's what we're
looks
talking
good,
about,
yeah,
when somebody has it pumped.
And that's about, it doesn't cost me any extra
Right,
when I,
because it's part of the pumping.
it's part of.
And if a person does that, they're gonna have to work out whether a person's just had it pumped and inspected, will that inspection report work? Or will they still have
And
to have?
I don't get a report or anything.
There's a lot to
I mean,
work
just
out.
kind of,
So we'll see what happens on the city thing. So I think what you're gonna see from the city is not the city hiring people to do septic inspections. I think that's a stretch. I think the city's gonna say that on some schedule, the property owner's gotta get inspected, and to some standard by someone who's licensed,
You have
whether
to have-
John
right.
Blaze can tell you all
you
about
have to have
this
it
stuff.
pumped anyway,
Right.
so.
Right, and
It doesn't
then,
really cost you anything else.
It's a big education piece, having it inspected.
Right,
And
and then
the
if-
homeowners the best benefit from it.
yeah, I think this ad hoc group, there's a bunch of ways.
They're working it out, and I think that, we can put it on an agenda item, because that's a discussion, but everybody's got an opinion, and we'll have to see what theirs is primarily.
I mean, maybe have, when somebody has their septic tank pumped, the city could provide a form, and, I don't know, the guy who pumps it off, check the boxes. It would be inexpensive.
Well, I'm not sure, I think that what we're looking for, where we've done all that we've done, the drinking water program is looking for a more concise system,
Something.
monitoring new septic systems and the
Yeah.
whole thing that's going on with the curtain drain, make sure it's done right, and then monitoring it regularly to make sure it's still working. There's more to it than just simply trying to find the 250 septic systems and if they're
Right.
still working. That's part of it, but the rest of it is ongoing in the future with development, so. Okay, next item is another appointment.
All right,
Question.
so the city of Auburn has formed a Lake Auburn stakeholders group, charged by, maybe Jeff could explain a little better, but, formed by city council to work with a couple of the water resource groups, not water resource, natural resource.
I don't know if we need to go over this again, we talked about it at the
Yes.
last meeting, right? It's the 3 questions that the council put to staff, and the people that have been invited to participate in this were the Water District, Law Pack, Lewiston Water Division, the Ag Working Group, Sustainability Natural Resources Board, the Protect Lake Auburn Group. And it could be other public stakeholders, no other public stakeholders have come forward. And not all those groups have yet said whether they're participating or not. But the first meeting's Thursday and.
Tomorrow night, 5. Yep,
5 o'clock?
tomorrow, yep.
Oh, tomorrow, yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
tomorrow's Thursday at 5
Yeah.
o'clock. And it's really those 3 questions we've had a bunch of public meetings, but Dan was there, Mike was there, Steve Deal. You got a bunch of public input, and this is really for a smaller group to talk about drafting what the ordinances would be to report back to the city council.
So, first of all, I ask the question, is anybody interested in?
I'm certainly interested if Mike will do it too, because Mike,
Well, I don't know if they self-appointed me, but they basically said it would be myself, and
One of
they
them.
were looking for one appointment from the trustee board. I know the commission appointed Camilla and Erica, so I'm planning on going tomorrow night.
Make a motion, Campbell, be appointed.
I will second it.
Any second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
And all in favor?
I'm there
Okay,
tomorrow night.
very good.
All right. I know
Old
in the
business.
interest of time, water quality, we're doing okay. Unfortunately, with the warm weather coming in next week, we may have an early ice off because there's not a lot of ice on the lake relatively compared to previous years. But otherwise, we're around average for this time of year. And I'll kind of, if you want, I'll just kind of jump to some of the action items because I know we're running late. The LCRR, we had received a grant loan from the drinking water program, the SRF program, to purchase a Vector truck to help us with our LCRR inventory. We got that back at the beginning of 2023. We put that out to bid. We met all the requirements of the drinking water program. We put that out to bid September 1. We had the bid opening. This board voted to award to the bidder that met our spec. I submitted the main bond bank application. Unfortunately, it took them till January to review our application, at which time the bid for the truck was now several months old, and they could not honor the price more than 30 days, and the price of the truck went up to $9,000. And the bond bank, because of the vote that we took, they can't authorize more than that because our minutes say that we only authorize this. And if we wanted to vote tonight, we could resubmit an application to the bond bank. Unfortunately, they probably wouldn't be able to review that for several more months. So our options are kind of limited. We can fund the balance, which is $9,735 out of cash on hand. We're still getting 55% grant, which is over $300,000 in grant, and we're getting this truck at 0% interest. So it's still a good deal. I do need that as a vote.
I'll move to fund $9,735 from cash to purchase.
Yeah, move in a second. Any discussion?
Just one thing, on the second page, Mike, going down the main information, next to the last one in the middle of the page, main information, the auxiliary engine, the GM 5.7 liter.
Oh, you're on the truck bit. I didn't know what you were reading about, sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's on the back column.
On the back column, yeah.
And I'm just wondering, is that a bigger engine than the one in our current Vector truck?
Yes.
I know the one, understand
That's
from a
the
couple of the
problem.
workers, the one in that truck really isn't quite big enough for the job, some of the jobs?
The bid that was put together for this truck is exactly everything we want.
Okay, good.
This
It's
is
bigger.
everything we want.
Good,
Yep.
thank you.
More adequate.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Back to
So 5, 6, what else did I have?
We already had cost apportionment discussion. Maybe
Yep.
we can defer that until we have time in the end. Commission update on ad hoc committee.
So I think we kind of talked about that. The ad hoc committee met the week before last. They're meeting again next week, and they're making good progress. They're talking about septic inspections and engaging the upper watershed towns. The commission has been working with Ken Wagner to conduct a phosphorus study. Where's the phosphorus coming into Lake Auburn, and to present options to mitigate that phosphorus. So that presentation is going to be made to the commission March 13th. If anybody wants to, as soon as we have a date and time agenda, I can forward that to the board so anybody can go to that and get that presentation. So that's
And could you
that's
include that
ongoing.
Wilson Lake issue with the detention pond up there and all that somehow, or at least?
Yeah, I'll
make sure
find that
that's-
article and I can send that around. Yep. Yep.
So they are going to use the March 13th date.
Yes.
Good.
Yep. You're going to be getting that. You should already have an email for that.
I've got it, yeah, that's good.
All right. Next one, superintendent review. That's basically done with the water board. Was one step ahead of the sewer board. That has now been completed and finalized out. The sewer board met and agreed basically with everything the water board did. And I met with Jason and Andy before the meeting. And everything's
Review, and
finalized
it's a very
there.
good one.
And I appreciate everybody's input. Thank you for the support. Lakeshore Drive, just a quick FYI. You will see that I did sign the agreement, so we now have the $750,000 from DOT to help with the culvert replacement. We have 3 years to do that, and I'll be engaging with Lewiston and the city to gauge their willingness to partner on that. So there is no risk to us. I did ask that question. If we don't utilize these funds in 3 years, they just get removed from us, and we didn't meet the clause, and you lose the money.
Have
So-
you made a request to Phil?
I did.
Okay.
He did not feel that the city would participate. He felt it was better suited with Lewiston Water and Auburn Water. So that was his response.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I got. I guess I already said the SRF thing because I was worried about that action item. So there you are. Trustee open session.
We can go back to cost apportionment. We
Oh,
have 5 minutes.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Just want to make sure we get going on that again, we can.
Sorry, I was jumping around. Yeah, cost apportionment, we did meet with Heather Hunter and Kevin Gagney. Andy Titus and I did. We discussed cost apportionment. They're open to discussing this with us. They're want to dive into this deeper with us, we have action items for our last meeting. Kevin and I are working on a list of questions for the drinking water program as they relate to cost apportioning, flows and costs for the treatment facility. Heather's looking into some gas fee standards and how they might affect the accounting of this. Once we get those, we're going to meet again. So I think that's...
She was also going to bring it up to city council behind executive session. We don't know the results of that discussion yet, except that I guess they're all amenable to what we talked about before in executive session. So that's where we're heading, but that's like your toe in the water, and now we got to get another toe in and maybe get the whole foot in there. But
yep.
At least we got a yes, one yes. We need a bunch of them, but just one yes anyway.
With that being said, you've been the trustee, advocate, and representative talking with cost apportionment. Does the board want to replace Andy on that, or this is your last trustee meeting?
Yeah, no, I think it's best that there be somebody on the board that's here for these meetings every month and just knows what's going on, because I just don't think that would be, I think I'd be at a hindrance. I mean, I have my opinion still, and if I head toe to toe and nose to nose with Heather Hunter over on them, but if I don't have the knowledge behind me of these meetings and what you guys want, I may speak out of turn.
I think the mayor had some great ideas of starting with the plant. You know, I mean, I don't. Maybe he'd be interested in going. Would that be inappropriate? I don't know. It'd be great.
Offer some clout to the whole crowd.
You overestimate the clout the mayor has.
We're not looking for 40 grand.
In all seriousness, I'd hate to lose your expertise, Andy, so I hope that you can remain involved to some degree.
Well, unfortunately for the city, I'm still involved in city business, even though I don't know it. I try to read just about everything that comes down the pike, so I probably will keep track of what's going on here too, as long as everything is public. And now that the packet's available on the website, I don't have to worry about getting a mailed packet, so
Yeah.
definitely we'll probably be downloading that and looking at it when it comes out.
But I have to say
Thanks for everything you've done.
Well, I
thank
really,
you so much.
you guys have had a tough year or two, especially with the lawsuit. And I commend all of you for hanging in there and keeping not letting them make us flinch, because I think that's really what they were trying to do mostly, was put the heavy hand on us. And we fought back. And we come out of this on the other end and they dropped the lawsuit. Doesn't mean they won't sue us again, because they could. Obviously, they're going to use this as a
They
way to...
dismissed part of it with prejudice, so
that's good.
we're good.
But I want to commend you guys, and it was a pleasure working with each and every one of you. Steve was here, I think I already told him how I felt about that too. So I'm going to miss it. I miss you guys, but I'll try to keep track of what's going on, and who knows, maybe he might show up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed if anything cost apportionment comes up that we send it to him as well, until he says stop sending me emails.
I don't mind getting as long as you're not sending me confidential stuff. I don't want to get that anymore.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
My email will be officially closed to confidential.
When we get a next meeting date now, I'll forward it to the board and we'll see what we do from there.
Well, Andy, in a thank
Oh,
you.
thank you very much. Yeah, one more. Trustee open session is the last item on the list. If anybody has anything for future agendas, I don't really care what you put on the future. No, just kidding. If there are no that, then I guess we're going to do the most.
We'll let you do the motion.
The funnest thing to do when it comes to being president.
You should make the
motion
motion.
to adjourn the meeting.
There
Do I have
you
a
go.
motion? Do I have a second? All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andy.